Imagine for a second, you're just out for a walk.
Right, just a normal neighborhood stroll.
Exactly. Just a quiet walk. You hit like, I don't know, about 9,000 steps or so.
Getting a good workout in.
Yeah. And the rhythm of your feet hitting the pavement is just completely hypnotic.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, those steps just trigger this massive flood of memories.
Oh, wow. Like an involuntary recall.
Yes, but not the warm, nostalgic kind.
Yeah.
You're suddenly hit with this incredibly heavy memory of a family just completely collapsing under the weight of its own dysfunction.
That sounds intense.
It really is. It's amazing how the body and motion can just unlock the mind like that. So today we are following a writer who took that exact walk.
Oh, okay.
A walk that basically forced him to dissect his own sister's descent into severe mental illness. And he realizes something huge.
It is.
He realizes that the true villain of the story wasn't her highly abusive boyfriend, but actually the entire family architecture that built her.
That is a profound realization. And honestly, reading the source material, it reads less like a standard diary entry and much more like a clinical dissection of a toxic system.
Yeah, totally.
We are essentially looking at a masterclass in how unresolved childhood trauma forces individuals to act out these unconscious scripts over and over again, completely regardless of the destruction it causes in their adult lives.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Fair.
Because the crisis that sets this whole disaster into motion starts with just a really brutal case of burnout.
Right. Severe occupational burnout.
Yeah, so the older sister in this family is working this grueling job at a convenience store. She pushes herself so intensely that her mental health just shatters.
Just completely breaks down.
Exactly. And she is forced to quit. But here is where my alarm bells really start ringing.
Uh-oh.
She rests for a mere 2 weeks.
That is nothing.
Right, just 14 days after a total mental collapse, she goes out and takes a job as a staff member at a transition support service.
A highly demanding caretaking role.
Exactly. And almost immediately, she meets a male client there. He falls in love with her at first sight, and they just start dating.
Wow, that was fast.
Wait, 2 weeks? That's not recovery. That's barely a pit stop.
No, definitely not.
I just struggle to understand why anyone would rush back into a high-stress caretaking environment when they are so clearly broken.
What's fascinating here is that her rush back to work isn't about ambition. It's not even about financial panic.
Really? What is it then?
It's entirely about psychological survival within the specific architecture of her family system.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, to understand this, we have to look at family systems theory. In this framework, a family basically operates like a biological cell.
Like an organism.
Exactly. It desperately craves homeostasis, a stable state, even if that state is completely toxic and dysfunctional.
Right, and in this specific family, she is kind of the odd one out, isn't she?
She is, yeah.
The source text notes, she's the only child from the father's previous marriage. The narrator, the younger brother who wrote this, and a deceased, disabled younger brother are from the father's current marriage.
Exactly. So what was her assigned role to maintain that family homeostasis?
Right. What did she have to do?
Invisibility and extreme self-sacrifice. She grew up completely starved for her father's affection. She was essentially forced to suppress her own existence just to keep the peace between her father and her stepmother.
That is heartbreaking. It's like she grew up as a ghost in her own house.
That's the perfect way to put it.
And when you're starving for water, you'll drink poison. She was just so desperate to be needed.
Exactly. If your entire identity, your programmed role, is to erase yourself to serve others, then resting, it just feels like existential dread. When she wasn't sacrificing herself at work, she literally felt she had no right to exist.
She's like a load-bearing pillar in a condemned building.
Yes, precisely.
If she stops holding up the weight, she loses her structural purpose. And when you are that desperate, any kind of dependence looks like love. Which brings us to the boyfriend.
Right, the new boyfriend from the support service.
Yes. And the horrifying escalation of her self-destruction. So, as her health inevitably declines again, because of course it does, she gets demoted at work and her income drops.
Meanwhile, this new boyfriend, who, by the way, has a driver's license, simply refuses to use it.
Which is insane.
Right. Instead, he demands that she commute to visit him frequently. And keep in mind, this commute involves 30 minutes of actual walking plus multiple train transfers.
And she is suffering from severe depression at this point. She's literally calling him in tears, explaining that her body is physically too heavy to move.
And how does he respond?
His response is just to demand she come over immediately. And she complies.
It's really hard to hear.
It is. She actually takes out a consumer loan to buy a walking cane and this rolling carry case to lean on, just dragging herself to his house almost daily.
Dragging her broken body.
Yeah. And here's where it gets really interesting and where I frankly want to push back a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
I understand trauma. I understand being conditioned to serve. But at what point do we separate unconscious trauma from just incredibly bad conscious decision-making?
It's a fair question.
Right. Taking out a loan to buy a cane to serve a guy who won't even drive to see you. Why on earth wouldn't she just say no? Or why wouldn't the family intervene and stop her from going?
It definitely seems like conscious self-sabotage, but the source text offers a really brilliant psychological counter to that assumption.
What does it say?
It compares her behavior to a child who is under so much psychological stress that they develop a high fever.
Like fever.
Yeah, think about it. That child isn't consciously deciding to raise their core body temperature, right?
Right, it's just a physical reaction.
Exactly. Their body is creating a physical crisis that forces the parents to stop whatever they're doing and administer care.
Oh, wow. Okay. So she is weaponizing her own suffering.
Yeah.
By pushing her body to the absolute breaking point, she is mathematically guaranteeing that she will get stuck halfway between her house and his.
Precisely. She isn't just trying to please this toxic boyfriend. Unconsciously, she is manufacturing a crisis so severe that her family has to come rescue her.
That is, that is dark.
It is an incredibly roundabout, devastating method of extracting the parental care and attention that she was completely denied as a child. She literally has to break herself to make her family look at her.
And it works.
Yeah.
But the result is a total nightmare.
Because it sucks everyone in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Her physical breakdown forces the family to act, sucking everyone into this toxic vortex of enabling. She starts getting stranded on these brutal commutes, and her first move is to call the narrator.
Her younger brother.
Right.
Which is a dynamic deeply rooted in their history. Back in college, the narrator used to rescue her in their dad's light truck when she suffered from severe anemia.
So the precedent was already there.
Exactly. The precedent of him being the physical savior was already locked into the family system.
But now he resents it. He's driving out, finding her broken on the street, and the moment she gets in his car, she somehow finds the energy to just brag about this manipulative boyfriend.
Oh, that must be infuriating.
It's draining the brother entirely. So he finally starts setting boundaries. This forces the sister to pivot, and she starts calling the mother to come get her instead.
And this shift in the system is where the father steps in, operating from a position of total emotional isolation.
Yeah, he doesn't exactly handle it well.
Not at all. He doesn't step in to comfort his daughter or ban the boyfriend from their lives. Instead, he issues this directive from a distance. He tells the narrator and the mother that they should simply take turns chauffeuring the sister to the boyfriend's house.
It's unbelievable. He's trying to administrate the crisis just to keep it away from his own doorstep.
Exactly. He doesn't want to deal with the messy emotions.
Well, the narrator flat out refuses his father's advice. But the mother complies. And the writer vividly describes his mother in this moment as, and this quote stuck with me, goldfish feces attached to a tyrant.
That is a brutal description.
But so accurate. She just mindlessly trails behind the domineering father, possessing zero agency of her own.
And predators possess an incredible radar for this exact kind of boundaryless dynamic.
Oh, absolutely.
The boyfriend immediately senses the weakness. Once the mother assumes the role of chauffeur, he escalates. He starts issuing orders directly to the family, demanding they purchase specific bento boxes, snacks, and juices just for him.
This is the part that completely short-circuited my brain.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
You would think the sister would be mortified, right? Her boyfriend is treating her mother like an unpaid delivery service.
You'd hope she'd be angry.
But instead of defending her mother, the sister defends the boyfriend. She takes this militant stance that her family should be serving him.
Wow.
It's like an autoimmune disease where the family's defense mechanism is so confused that it's attacking its own healthy tissue, the mother's dignity, the brother's time, just to feel like it's addressing the crisis.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the textbook definition of how severe dysfunction requires proxies.
Proxies. Explain that a bit more.
Well, in a healthy family, individuals communicate their needs, their anger, and their boundaries directly to one another.
Right.
In this family, direct communication is just too terrifying. So everyone uses a proxy. The narrator and the mother perform the physical labor. The boyfriend extracts the resources. The father dictates terrible boundaries from his isolated throne to avoid getting his hands dirty.
And the sister.
She uses the boyfriend's outrageous demands as a proxy test of her family's love. She believes that if her family serves him, they are finally accepting her because he has become her alter ego.
So it's a massive proxy war where everyone is fighting, but no one is actually talking about the original wound.
Exactly. But proxy systems are fundamentally unsustainable.
Yeah, the friction eventually causes the whole machine to break down. The family finally snaps and cuts off the chauffeuring entirely. They refuse to drive her.
And because her unconscious goal was always to force the rescue, without the family driving her, she just pushes herself on foot until she literally collapses on the street at sunset.
But this time is different. Because the family boundary actually held, she doesn't call her brother or her mom.
Who does she call?
She calls a worker from her transition support service.
Oh, interesting.
Right. And this worker then has to call the boyfriend, acting as yet another proxy. But here's the critical difference. This third-party worker was not raised in this toxic ecosystem.
Exactly. When you drag a healthy outsider into a diseased system, they expect normal, linear logic.
They aren't in on the rules.
Right. They aren't programmed to accept the crazy rules that the family considers perfectly normal. The support worker immediately recoils and just snaps. They tell the sister directly that this entire situation is ridiculous and she needs to stand up for herself.
And jarringly, it works.
Yeah.
The sheer force of an outside perspective breaks the spell and the sister finally ends the relationship. But this is where the boyfriend reveals his true colors. Upon being dumped, he casually admits to her that his ultimate plan the whole time was to exhaust and crush their entire family. He was consuming them on purpose.
It's chilling, but clinically it tracks perfectly. A predator looks for an organism with a compromised immune response. He saw a family incapable of generating antibodies, in this case boundaries, and decided to see how far the infection could spread.
It's so insidious, and when the sister reports this confession to the narrator, the brother's reaction is explosive.
Understandably so.
All those years of being the suppressed shock absorber for the family just finally detonate. His blood pressure spikes over 200.
That's dangerous.
Very.
Yeah.
He screams at the boyfriend over the phone, absolutely eviscerating him.
Right.
And then, for the first time in his life, he turns that rage onto his sister. He yells at her.
Let's look at the mechanics of what is happening to the brother physiologically here.
Okay.
The human nervous system can only act as a container for chronic stress for so long before the HPA axis. The body's stress response system just overloads.
It just can't hold anymore.
Right. For years, his cortisol levels were managing the rescues, the unspoken tension, the resentment. When that container finally breaches, the release of pent-up energy isn't just emotional, it is a violent physical event.
Which explains the aftermath for him. As he leaves the room, he drops this incredibly heavy line on her. He says, "Take care of yourself as much as you take care of him."
Powerful.
And after he walks out, his nervous system essentially crashes. He suffers intense chills and cold sweats, requiring an actual ambulance to come for him.
His body just gave out.
Yeah. But I want to zero in on the sister's reaction to her brother's explosion.
How does she react?
She doesn't process the profound danger she was just in with this sociopathic boyfriend. She totally regresses. She starts crying like an infant, saying, "I made my precious little brother mad."
That infantile regression is key.
Yeah.
She's completely incapable of processing adult accountability. She shrinks back into the only role she knows, the helpless, scolded child.
So, the supervillain boyfriend is gone. The immediate threat is neutralized. Logic would dictate that this is where the healing begins, right?
They would think so.
But the breakup doesn't fix the sister at all. It completely shatters her.
Because the boyfriend was merely a symptom, the underlying pathology, the unhealed emotional wounds inflicted by the parents, remained completely untouched.
The root cause was still there.
Yes. This highlights a crucial concept in psychology regarding the ego. And in this context, ego doesn't mean arrogance, you know? It means the structural core of a person's identity.
Okay.
If parents consistently neglect a child's emotional reality, that structural core never forms. The sister basically used the abusive boyfriend as a prosthetic ego. Once he was removed, there was no healthy self left underneath, just a void.
And the reality of that void is just harrowing. She spirals into this severe 6-month-long breakdown.
6 months, wow.
Yeah. She tears down these Jesus Christ wall decorations she previously worshipped, utterly rejecting the spiritual comfort she used to rely on.
A total collapse of her belief systems.
And it gets worse physically. She refuses to leave her room, resorting to peeing in plastic bottles and using nylon bags for her waste. It is a total retreat from the physical world.
It is an absolute regression to infancy, and it's driven by a profound terror of her environment. And that terror is highly specific. It is directed entirely at her father.
We see that play out during one of her massive panic attacks. The father attempts to intervene, but he offers zero comfort.
What does he do?
He tries to physically restrain her, using sheer force. The narrator describes his father having a demon's expression on his face during this struggle.
That must have been terrifying for her.
It escalates to the point where 3 police patrol cars and multiple ambulances arrive at the house. And the most tragic footnote here is that the neighbors are already entirely accustomed to this level of chaos.
Really? Why?
Because the exact same cycle of crisis used to happen when the deceased disabled brother was alive. The trauma is literally baked into the foundation of the house.
The panic she feels around the father is so visceral that even as she begins to slightly recover, her behavior remains dictated by his proximity.
Right, the bathroom logistics prove this completely. She refuses to leave her room without calling her mother internally, just to verify her father's physical location in the house.
She has to scout ahead.
Yes, only when the coast is clear will she risk running to the real toilet.
No.
And if she miscalculates, if she accidentally spots him in the hallway,
What happens?
she immediately hyperventilates and collapses on the floor.
Oh my goodness.
And the father's reaction to his daughter gasping for air on the ground, he looks at her like a cold robot and just says, "Do that in your room."
It is a devastating moment of clarity. It perfectly illustrates why she sought out the abusive boyfriend to begin with.
How so?
Well, when your primary caregiver reacts to your immense psychological pain with robotic disgust and inconvenience, you will gladly accept any form of attention, even abusive, sadistic attention, just to feel like you exist in someone's eyes.
And the damage isn't solely from the father's icy rejection. We also have to examine the mother's role, which is arguably just as destructive but disguised as kindness.
The enabler disguised as the nurturer.
Exactly. So later on, when the sister's doing fractionally better, the narrator takes her out shopping. He's trying to help her slowly integrate back into society.
Which is exhausting work.
Highly stressful emotional labor. And when they return home, the mother offers him this glowing praise. She says, "You're so kind, I could never do that."
On the surface, it sounds like validation, but dynamically, it is a massive psychological trigger.
So what does this all mean? Why does this compliment hurt the brother so much?
Tell me.
It hurts because it forces the narrator to realize that his mother did the exact same thing to him when he was a child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when he was acting as a young carer for their profoundly disabled brother, she would offer this exact same empty, smiling praise. She was watching him literally kill his own soul, sacrificing his childhood to put others first, and she praised him for it because his sacrifice made her life easier.
She outsourced the parenting to a child.
Exactly. She provided the applause, but absolutely zero emotional support or protection for the child making the sacrifice.
That is so incredibly damaging.
It is.
Yeah.
When you zoom out and look at the whole picture, the true villain wasn't the boyfriend. I mean, he was just a parasite who found a willing host.
Right.
The real tragedy was the mother's total inability to provide a safe emotional harbor and the father's robotic, terrifying lack of love. The family system manufactured the perfect victim and then blindly handed her over to the wolves.
And that realization is the stark, vital warning embedded in this source material. The writer didn't expose this incredibly painful private history just to vent his anger.
No, he had a purpose.
He shared it to map out the mechanics of a trap. If you are listening to this and you recognize these patterns in your own family crises or in endless sibling drama, you have to understand that you cannot cure a toxic family system by simply playing the role of the rescuer over and over again.
It won't work.
No, the system will consume you just as eagerly as it consumes the victim. You have to recognize where the boundaries need to be drawn before the structural weight crushes you too.
This deep dive leaves us with an incredibly heavy but utterly necessary question to ask ourselves. And I really want you to let this marinate the next time you find yourself tangled in your own family's dynamics.
What's the question?
In your own life, when you are constantly stepping in to save someone, are you actually helping them heal? Or are you just playing your assigned role in a broken system that requires you to sacrifice yourself to keep the peace?
That is a powerful thing to reflect on.
Next time you're out taking a walk, getting those 9,000 steps in, take a moment to look at the unconscious scripts you might be following. Thank you for joining us on this intense deep dive. Stay curious, protect your boundaries, and most importantly, take care of yourself.